There is a silent war happening inside every person you meet. A war that begins not on the battlefield of the world, but in the unseen trenches of the mind. It doesn't shout. It doesn't explode. It whispers. Constantly, it whispers lies wrapped in logic, doubts disguised as realism, fears masquerading as facts. You hear it every morning. The moment you open your eyes, you're not ready. You don't have enough. You'll fail, just like last time. And yet, that same mind holds the blueprint of your destiny. The question is not whether greatness lives inside you. It does. The question is whether your mind, your actions, and your destiny are speaking the same language, or whether they're foreign bodies moving in different directions, draining your power with every step. Alignment is not a luxury. It is the invisible force behind every person who ever built a legacy that mattered. When your thoughts drift one way, but your habits walk another, your future stands still. No matter how hard you try, no matter how loudly you affirm, no matter how desperately you dream, because dreams are not enough. Desire is not enough. Wanting to be something is not the same as becoming it. Becoming demands unity. Henry Ford didn't just think about cars. He became synonymous with them. Carnegie didn't just talk about steel. He laid his hands on it every day, until the heat became his home. That's what alignment looks like, when the inner vision and the outer movement shake hands and agree on where you're going. And you've seen glimpses of it, moments when everything felt in flow, when your energy matched your goals, when your body followed your belief, when action wasn't a struggle but a song. That's not coincidence. That's clarity. And clarity is power. But most people never live there for long. They fall into the trap of contradiction. They think one thing, say another, and do neither. They talk about discipline but worship distraction. They chase success but sacrifice no comfort. They want transformation but resist change. Let me be clear, alignment is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about being so internally congruent that even when the world pulls, you don't fracture. You don't bend. You move forward because forward is the only way your spirit understands. And that kind of alignment doesn't come from reading a quote on social media. It comes from burning down the illusions you've built. Because somewhere along the way, someone taught you to separate your life. Mind here, action there. Soul somewhere in between. They taught you to survive, not to unify. But survival is not your ceiling. You weren't born to barely get by. You were born to rise. To own your day with clarity, to walk your talk with courage, and to silence every voice that says you can't. Let's talk about the mind. Your mind is not just a place of thought. It's a factory of belief. Every moment, it's producing blueprints for the world you're going to live in. And if you don't take control of what's being built, you'll find yourself living inside architecture designed by fear, by other people's opinions, and by outdated definitions of success. Your thoughts are not passive. They are weapons. They can liberate you or limit you. Thomas Edison didn't just have better ideas. He had better belief. When the world said impossible, he rewired his thoughts until inevitable became his default. This is the foundation of all achievement. What you believe, you build. What you entertain in your mind, you invite into your life. But belief without movement is fiction. It's a fantasy that comforts but never completes. You must act. Boldly, repeatedly, and not just when it's convenient. You must act when you're tired, when no one's watching, when the applause is gone and all that's left is the quiet echo of your own breath in the room. That is when alignment is tested. in the mundane, not the momentous. You say you want purpose. Then show me your patterns, because purpose doesn't appear in speeches. It reveals itself in structure, in systems, in the discipline of doing what you said you'd do long after the mood has left the room. This is why most people remain stuck. They think alignment is a feeling. It's not. It's a choice. Made in the furnace of discomfort, you must choose clarity over confusion, movement over motionlessness, conviction over convenience. Because the truth is, clarity is the beginning of everything. When you know who you are and what you're here to do, the distractions don't disappear, but they do lose their power. That's why you must sit with yourself. You must ask the hard questions. What do I really want? Who am I becoming? Am I living by design or by default? Don't answer too quickly. Let silence interrogate you. Let the discomfort dig deeper, because most people can't answer these questions. Not honestly. They've built their lives around assumptions, borrowed goals, inherited expectations. But when you ask deeply, when you strip away the noise, you find vision. Not a goal, a vision. The kind that grabs your chest and refuses to let go. And once vision takes root, everything changes. Your mornings change. Your circle changes. Your standards change. Because vision doesn't tolerate inconsistency. It demands alignment. Now the work begins. Because alignment without discipline is just a mood board, a hope, a wish. Discipline is what turns clarity into consistency. And consistency is where greatness lives, not in the massive moments, not in the viral victories, in the mundane, the invisible, the repetitive. That's where giants are born. Not in the light of the stage, but in the shadow of repetition. The world teaches you to chase momentum. But momentum is a side effect. It's the result of a mind that knows, a body that moves, and a soul that refuses to back down. And this is where you separate. When others stop at good enough, you press forward. When others get bored, you get sharper. When others chase pleasure, you pursue purpose. This isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than your excuses. And every time you align, when your thoughts are clear, your actions are bold, and your values are intact, you compound. 1 hour of focused, aligned action is worth more than a week of confused hustle. Because alignment doesn't waste energy. It channels it. It cuts through resistance. It silences noise. That's why legends don't chase everything. They chase one thing with precision, with passion, with power. And that one thing, it's not a number. It's not a title. It's legacy. Not what you leave behind, but what you live through. When your mind, your movement, and your mission operate as one, you don't just build a life. You build a legacy in real time. And every time you show up, not perfectly, but powerfully, you remind the world of what's possible when a human being stops drifting and starts designing. So let's speak now of the sacred force most overlooked, devotion, because that's what alignment truly is. It is devotion not just to a task, but to a truth, a higher version of yourself that demands to be born through discipline. And devotion isn't loud. It doesn't post selfies. It doesn't need affirmation. Devotion shows up quietly, every day, with rolled up sleeves and a fire in its gut. Devotion is the author of destiny. Think of Lincoln, not a man of perfect timing or perfect certainty, but of unwavering devotion to principle. Even when the entire nation tore at its seams, he was not chasing popularity. He was anchored by purpose. That's what alignment looks like when tested by history. And history will test you too, not with armies or ballots, but with your own reflection, your own patterns, your own habits. Because destiny doesn't knock. It waits. It watches. And when it sees you rising at dawn again and again, when it sees you choosing values over validation, when it sees you enduring the boredom of mastery, it begins to move. And most people miss that moment. Not because they're lazy, but because they're scattered. The world taught them to multitask mediocrity instead of mastering mission, to scroll through life instead of sculpting it. But you are not here to coast. You are here to climb, and climbing takes clarity of thought, precision of action, and faith in the outcome you haven't seen yet. Let's go deeper. What happens when the fire fades? What happens when clarity becomes clouded, when your discipline breaks, when your energy is gone? This is where most quit. They interpret the dip as defeat. But those who are aligned, they know better. They know that fatigue is not failure. They know that emotion is not evidence. And they know that alignment is not something you feel once. It's something you return to daily, like breath, like prayer, like gravity. There will be days when nothing makes sense, when the steps are slow, when the weight feels heavier than usual. But alignment doesn't mean you move fast. It means you move true. It means your compass doesn't change just because the terrain gets tough. It means your rituals anchor you when your emotions try to sabotage you. It means you honor the promise you made to yourself in the quiet, even when the noise outside gets loud. Because here's the truth: discipline is devotion in motion. And consistency is the highest form of loyalty to your future. Let's talk about sacrifice. Not the dramatic kind, but the daily kind. The sacrifice of saying no to easy, so you can say yes to excellent. The sacrifice of social approval in favor of personal evolution. The sacrifice of comfort in exchange for character. Because alignment doesn't let you keep everything. You will lose friends. You will outgrow circles. You will become unrecognizable. And that's exactly the point. Growth isn't supposed to feel familiar. Reinvention is supposed to be uncomfortable. The caterpillar doesn't take its cocoon with it into flight. And neither can you. You want alignment. Then accept that not everyone can come with you, and not every part of your past can stay in your future. That's not selfish. That's sacred. Because alignment doesn't ask what feels good. It asks what serves the mission. Not what's popular, but what's true. Not what's trending, but what's timeless. And when you live like this, when your mind is clear, your actions are congruent, and your values are rooted, you become undeniable. Not because the world gives you permission, but because the universe recognizes order. And when you are in order, in integrity, in alignment, the doors open, the path clears, and the destiny that once felt distant starts moving toward you. Not because you chased it, but because you became worthy of it. You see, the world rewards authentic alignment, not desperate ambition. It honors the man who builds in silence, not the one who begs for stage time. It remembers the legacy of those who lived on purpose, not those who lived for attention. And that can be you. But you must stop waiting. Waiting for motivation. Waiting for signs. Waiting for the perfect time. Alignment doesn't wait. It chooses. It builds. It becomes. You have a mind that can design the future, a body that can build it, a spirit that can carry it. But they must speak the same language. They must move in the same direction. And that harmony, that internal unity, is the birthplace of miracles. When your inner world aligns with your outer world, you don't just influence people. You ignite them. You don't just hit goals. You shift atmospheres. That's what the greats did. They didn't just produce. They transformed. Not because they had better tools, but because they had better alignment. They believed without doubt. They acted without delay. They lived without apology. And now, it's your turn. You're not here to dabble. You're here to dominate. You're not here to borrow greatness. You're here to birth it. So stop arguing for your limitations. Stop collecting evidence for your weakness. Stop saying Conde and realize that this day, this breath, this moment is your shot to align. Let this be the hour you stopped splitting your soul between distraction and destiny. Let this be the season you said no more to mediocrity, and yes to the version of yourself you know exists. Deep beneath the fear, beneath the stories, beneath the scars. Because when you stop seeking alignment and start living it, you don't just change your life. You change your bloodline. You change your timeline. You change the world. So what does it actually look like? This life of full alignment. It looks like structure that holds freedom. It looks like simplicity that sharpens power. It looks like a person so grounded in who they are that nothing external can shake their core. You walk differently when your mind is clean, your actions are consistent, and your spirit is at peace. You no longer chase, you attract, you no longer perform. You become, and you no longer wait. You move, because movement is the language of destiny. Let's go deeper still. Alignment demands integrity, and integrity is not about being flawless. It's about being whole, undivided, clear in your intention, unwavering in your behavior. It means your yes means yes, even when no would be easier. It means you follow through, not just when you're watched, but especially when you're not. It means your values are not seasonal, they're foundational. You want to feel powerful? Then become a person your future can trust. Not someone who starts with fire and ends in ash, but someone who keeps showing up, even when the applause dies. Especially when the applause dies. That's where the future gets built. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadow. Not in the announcement, but in the anonymity. Not in the breakthrough, but in the repetition. When your actions and your values dance in rhythm, your life becomes music. When your thoughts and your discipline lock arms, you become a force. And when your dreams and your daily habits finally align, you stop spinning. You stop guessing. You rise. This world is not short on dreamers. It's full of them. But aligned builders, rare, sacred, they are the ones history remembers. Not the loudest, not the trendiest, the ones who showed up every single day and laid a brick of legacy. With no camera, no credit, and no craving for either. Now listen carefully. There will be moments when alignment feels lonely, because not everyone wants the cost that clarity demands. Not everyone will celebrate your decision to rise above distraction. Not everyone will understand why you don't drink like you used to, talk like you used to, scroll like you used to. Let them misunderstand. Because alignment isn't about being understood. It's about being true. And the more true you become, the more false things will fall away. People, habits, environments, beliefs, let them go. Because your alignment is more valuable than their approval. Your peace is more sacred than their permission. And your calling is louder than their opinion. There is something only you can build. There is a story only your life can tell. There is a door that only opens when you stop pretending and start aligning. This isn't about perfection. It never was. It's about consistency. It's about honor. It's about building a life that echoes beyond your last breath. You see, alignment doesn't just change what you do. It changes who you are. And who you become determines what becomes possible. Edison didn't just invent. He became the kind of man who refused to quit. Ford didn't just build. He became obsessed with vision that others laughed at. Disney didn't just dream. He aligned every moment of his life to an empire the world said would fail. These men weren't special. They were aligned. Mind, body, spirit, thought, movement, legacy. So what about you? Will you keep giving your power to distraction? Will you keep letting your fear drive the car of your future? Or will you finally decide that you are done waiting for a sign and ready to become the sign? You don't need a new opportunity. You need new alignment. You don't need more motivation. You need more devotion. Devotion to your purpose. Devotion to your process. Devotion to the person you are becoming. Moment by moment, action by action. Because you cannot cheat your way to legacy. You cannot shortcut alignment. And you cannot fake inner peace. Either your thoughts and your actions are in sync, or your life will always feel offbeat. But when they do sync, when your intentions meet your habits, when your energy matches your mission, when your vision is carried out by the hours you're willing to sacrifice, you will feel it. The shift, the stillness, the silent roar of knowing that you are finally in flow, not the kind of flow they talk about in books, but the kind that lifts your life from average to art. The kind of flow that turns Mondays into momentum and repetition into revelation. That's what this is really about. Not performance, not perfection, presence. Being so fully here in this moment, with nothing misaligned, that the next right step becomes obvious, that the noise dies down, that the path begins to clear itself. That is alignment, and that is your birthright. And when you finally taste it, even for a second, you'll know. You'll know what it means to wake up with no war inside you. To feel your spirit and your schedule speak the same language. To walk into the world not seeking direction, but bringing it. You'll speak less, but say more. You'll do less, but build more. Because aligned action doesn't waste energy. It focuses it like sunlight through a magnifying glass. You burn through doubt. You scorch through hesitation. You become heat, motion, light, all moving in the direction of your purpose. And let the world watch in silence. Let them wonder how you moved so fast, how you changed without shouting, how you rose without rage. They'll think it was sudden, but it was not. It was one decision at a time. It was one alignment after another. It was all the days you stayed faithful when no one clapped, all the hours you worked with no post, all the times you believed when it was easier not to. That's the truth no one shares in viral quotes or glossy reels. Alignment is quiet. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply becomes undeniable. And here is where it all comes together, where destiny stops being some distant dream and starts breathing in your bones. Because when your mind, your actions, and your soul align, you no longer just exist. You ignite. You inspire. You build legacies without screaming. You leave fingerprints on time itself. You become the architect, the builder, and the structure. You stop searching for signs and start moving like one. You stop asking for power and start walking in it. And you finally realize it was never about doing more. It was about becoming whole. So wake up, stand up, strip away what's not true, burn the scripts they gave you, and move with alignment, with fire, with discipline, with grace. Because the world doesn't need another distracted dreamer. It needs a you who is undivided, unapologetic, unstoppable. Now go, align your mind, align your movement, and build a destiny that cannot be shaken. Brick by brick, breath by breath, step by step. This is how you rise, not in noise but in truth. This is how you win, not in flashes, but in alignment. And this is how you live a life that echoes through eternity.